ever found yourself wondering whether to Google something or ask ChatGPT, you're definitely not alone. You've probably also noticed they feel very different. Most people can't explain why. They've simply developed a gut feeling over time. This kind of question I'll Google, and that kind of question I'll ask an AI model. A while ago, if you wanted information, there was really only one place to go: Google. Today, millions of people start with ChatGPT or another AI model, which raises the question, are these two tools actually competing, or are they solving completely different problems? Some people still assume ChatGPT is just another Google with better answers, but that's actually not what's happening. These are two different systems built on two different architectures. They process information differently, produce different answers, and are useful for different kinds of tasks. Once you understand this, the question will no longer be which one is better. It will become which one is the right tool for this task. In this video, we are going to discuss the difference between Google and AI LLMs and when to reach for either one. The core distinction between the two is that Google retrieves information and LLMs predict. This is the reason why they work so differently and possess different capabilities. Google goes out into the world, finds things that exist and points you to them, and LLMs produce something new, drawing on all patterns from everything they were trained on. So Google follows three stages whenever you search: crawling, indexing, and serving. Imagine the world's biggest library. Every minute, new books arrive and some books disappear. Librarians constantly walk through this library, making notes. They don't write anything, they simply record where everything is. This is essentially what happens during crawling. Crawlers are constantly moving through the web, discovering new and updated pages. When a crawler finds a page, it reads its content to understand what it's about, then stores a representation of the page in a huge catalog or database called an index. Then when you search for something, Google searches this index instead of the whole web. And this is because searching a catalog is faster than searching every page individually on the web. Google will then determine if a page is a duplicate of another and then select the most representative version of it, which is what appears in the results. So this index is essentially a map of a vast portion of the web, not the web itself, but a structured representation of what's on it. Then serving. So after entering a query, Google will return the results believed to be the highest quality and most relevant. It decides what to show you. Google works with things that already exist. It crawled real pages, indexed real content, and ranked everything to give you the most relevant results. It's a retrieval system that's all about finding what's out there. Now let's talk about what's happening on the LLM side. An LLM does not have an index of web pages. It doesn't go out and search for anything. When you ask it a question, it does not search the web by default. Without retrieval augmentation, an LLM is only as smart as the data it was trained on, and it can only generate text based on what it has seen during training, rather than pulling in new information after the training cutoff. So during training, the models read a really large amount of text from different sources. They process all of it, and from all of that, they absorb patterns they store in a parameter instead of building an index. Patterns about how languages work, how concepts relate, how arguments are structured, and what tends to follow what. When you ask it a question, it takes in your input and generates an output drawing on those learned patterns. For example, if you type in capital of France is, it will complete the sequence with Paris. And this is because it has become so good at predicting, not because it knows facts like humans. As OpenAI's Sam Altman has put it, the right way to think about the models that we create is a reasoning engine, not a fact database. The value of an LLM is in its ability to reason with language, to synthesize, to explain, generate, argue, create, and not in storing and retrieving accurate facts. So what does all of this mean when you're trying to decide which to use? Suppose you're trying to buy a camera. Google wins as it will give you the prices, real websites, reviews, retailers, and recent models. But let's say you bought the camera and now you want to understand its features like aperture, exposure, position, and the rest. An LLM will become more useful in this case because it will give you an explanation rather than a destination. So here's a framework. Use Google when you want to find something that exists, like a specific page, a specific product, a news article, a business, or a country's website. Google will connect you to the actual source. Then use an LLM when you want to understand something, when you want to generate something or think something through, or maybe you need an explanation that adjusts to your level. You want a first draft, you want to brainstorm, you want to think through decision with something that can engage with your specific framing rather than pointing you to a list of links, then LLMs are for you. There are also situations where they overlap. You've probably recently seen this in ChatGPT, where a response response comes with a link. AI models now rely on retrieval augmented generation, RAG, rather than traditional indexes. This means these systems combine the retrieval of Google with the synthesis of an LLM. So instead of showing different links, they go out, find current sources, then generate a synthesized response grounded in what they found. And Google itself has this. It's the Google AI mode that commonly appears when you search. So essentially, Google is becoming partly generative, and LLMs with search tools are becoming partly retrieval based. The lines are blurring, but the underlying architectures, retrieval versus generation, remain fundamentally different. One more difference worth naming is hallucination. Google can retrieve misinformation, but LLMs manufacture misinformation. These are not failure modes. Google's mistake just begins with a bad source, but an LLM's mistake is built in. That's why citations will always matter and verification will remain a requirement. Years ago, learning how to search was a basic digital skill. Today, a new kind of literacy is knowing when to search, when to ask, and when to verify. Understanding this distinction will help in better decision making. These tools aren't here to replace thinking, but to amplify it if you know what each one was actually designed to do. In the next episode, we are going to look at how to use these models. You will see how small changes can dramatically improve the quality of the answers you get. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.